I was a young boy, because one of the central teachings of the Baha'i faith is that there's one God and that he sent all of the messengers over time.
Mm-hmm.
But they have essentially one unified spiritual message, and that is the fatherhood of God and the family of humankind and the need to love God and to worship him by serving his children.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was a little boy and we'd go to Baha'i children's classes, part of our Baha'i education was to learn about Judaism and Buddhism and Christianity and Islam and the Baha'i faith, all of them,
mm-hmm.
because they're extensions of the same truth.
Mm-hmm.
One of the effects that had on me as a person was that I learned to appreciate and see the dignity in all people.
Mm-hmm.
And when you learn that as a small child, it shapes your view for what's possible as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, you know, we didn't just read books about these churches and spiritual traditions. I was taken to mosques and temples and churches to meet clergy and to really investigate their traditions and to see the unity, the spiritual unity of the teachings
mm-hmm.
of all of the religions.
Mm-hmm.
And so you really develop an affection and a respect and a sense of belonging to the family of all humankind,
mm-hmm.
as opposed to being a young black boy from Watts in LA,
mm-hmm.
where my neighborhood was ghetto as far as the eye could see.
Mm-hmm.
But my sense of things was that was for now,
mm-hmm.
but that the destiny of humankind was to grow bigger than that,
mm-hmm.
To embrace all people and all traditions in one circle of unity. The Baha'i faith is an independent religion in the very same sense as Judaism and Christianity and Islam. It is founded by Baha'u'llah.
Mm-hmm.
He confirms and reinforces the spiritual truth and the legitimacy of all of the messengers of God,
mm-hmm.
of Moses, of Abraham, of Christ, of Buddha and Krishna, of Muhammad, and so on. And he says that this is the time for the next message from God,
mm-hmm.
the intent of which is to unify people of all nations, all races, and all religious backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first principles of the Baha'i faith is independent investigation of truth. And the reason for this is that the Baha'i teachings explain that too much of our history is influenced by the blind acceptance of spiritual tradition.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't always serve us well.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't lead us to unite with other people,
Mm-hmm.
to see opportunities for fellowship and bridge building, to build understanding and cooperation so that we can advance the human condition
Mm-hmm.
and serve the needs of humankind. Too often, blind acceptance of those traditions has served to build walls and barriers
Mm-hmm.
between us on the basis of race or religion or social status, what have you. But in the Baha'i faith, the teachings of Baha'u'llah call us to challenge all of that,
Mm-hmm.
To investigate for ourselves and to ask ourselves what leads to the benefit of humanity,
Mm-hmm.
what serves the very best purposes of humankind, what alleviates suffering, what advances dignity and nobility, what uplifts the spirit and character of human beings, and to investigate these things and to determine the truth for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the writings of Baha'u'llah, the teachings of the Baha'i faith, make an awful lot of suggestions about what those traditions are.
And of course, the notion of knowing God and loving God for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And then the self is that other whole fascinating...
Well, let's go. It's time.
Well, I was thinking about what Bob said about challenging notions
Mm-hmm.
of truth and investigating truth and raising questions in your life and thinking about the responsibility that Baha'is see themselves as in this independent investigation of truth as also centering that within, so that the challenge is also to the self.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do I take these principles that I embrace, these age-old principles of compassion and justice, and how do I try to live as a Baha'i in the world. In other words, it isn't for me, I hope, it isn't just to feel fulfilled that I was attracted to the faith. I think that very early on, hearing the speeches of Martin Luther King and the spiritual journey of Malcolm X, and growing up as a Catholic in Catholic schools, and always wondering, well, what about the Buddhists? You know, they too speak to, I mean, they too are connected to God, in the sense that their religion must be for all of us. And when I first heard about the Baha'i faith, I heard about this notion of progressive revelation, and that is that the belief, Baha'u'llah has stated, that religion acts as the messengers or the teachers of each religion act as teachers in different ages, almost like chapters in a book, and that they come at various times through history to educate us, and each one builds on the teachings of the last. But the spiritual teachings don't change. The teachings of justice and compassion and love and turning to God. But the social teachings need to be updated as the world changes. And so, back to what I was originally saying, the notion of challenging oneself to try to understand how to live a life where what I believe I attempt to put into my practice, into my life. And so there's all kinds of challenges going on, both inner and outer. But I think that's what keeps us sane, healthy, growing.
And the practice of meditation and prayer
daily.
To assess at the end of every day.
To call yourself to account each day.
Call yourself to account for what you have done during that day on a daily basis.
Be aware of yourself. It's kind of like that, how am I driving, you know? How did I do? You know, I encountered this today, I feel really good about that. I did this today, I don't feel so good about that. Well, why? Well, you know, if I call myself to account, if I'm in the practice of that, then I'm beginning to have an inner discourse. And prayer is a big part of being a Baha'i. And Baha'u'llah revealed many, many teachings, some of which have not even been translated from the Persian and the Arabic. But there is, you know, as I mentioned earlier, I feel like embracing the Baha'i faith is like embracing a life of study of the Baha'i faith, because I don't feel I'll ever be more than a student. You know, hopefully I'll make some progress.